Okay. Well, we are here today. I'm going to wait for this information to get live and up on the screen. We are here today. I'm doing a double video camera today because we don't know how social media platforms are going to treat this interview. It's been an uphill battle in terms of outreach all morning for our entire team. This interview we've been waiting for a long time. We have Juanita Broaddrick on the line with us here on the phone. If you don't know who she is, you can see the picture right up there. She is what the mainstream media, MSM, has said is the accuser of Bill Clinton, okay? Accuser of Bill Clinton for rape. And here's the deal. Juanita, you're a brave woman, okay? I don't like the accusing, the alleged, all of this. When they have, Ford up there at the Kavanaugh hearing talking about, that pretty much she was the victim of some horrific assault. And here, you've been through the loop and back between media, treated horribly by, many different powers that be, and your story suppressed, information suppressed. I mean, you're a brave woman. You had a lot to say about the situation with Ford, Juanita. Can you share with us how that made you feel?
Oh, sure. Be happy to, Erin. And by the way, thanks for having me on today.
Of course.
I was extremely leery of the accusations when they came out because of the character of Brett Kavanaugh. I began to doubt it in the beginning, but I thought, I'm going to give this woman her say. But listen, the minute the hearing started and I heard that faint little voice, it was a fake voice, I could almost tell, and it's not that I'm a mind reader or anything, but somebody who suffered a horrible attack like I did. I mean, when you listen to Christine Ford, you know that it has nothing to do with Brett Kavanaugh. There was absolutely no corroboration whatsoever. And my incident went back 4 years prior to hers. And listen, Erin, I can remember everything. I mean, it made such an impact on my life.
Now, I want to take a step back because not everybody follows all of this. We're in the belly of this beast, so to speak, in terms of knowing and kind of seeing what's been going on for years and years and years, and especially you, with your situation. But, Juanita, you came out in 1999 with what they call allegations for what they call alleged rape by Bill Clinton in April of 1978. I'm going to tell you, for all the victims who are out there, who are survivors, who are fighters, who are brave enough to come forward, we applaud you. We don't call you a victim, and we certainly aren't going to say it's an alleged rape. What
right.
happened?
Thank you.
What happened? I mean, we need to recognize that because this whole Me Too movement has just bastardized and completely perverted the view of the public, But what happened rolling back to 1978, and in terms of, it was violent, right? I mean, your experience.
Yes. Erin. Yeah, Erin, it was the most horrific event in my life and affected my life in that way. I was a registered nurse, a nursing home owner. I had just opened my own nursing home about 3 to 4 years previously. And some of my friends came to me and said, we're going down to volunteer for the Bill Clinton for Governor campaign. Do you want to go? And I thought, gosh, I've seen his ads on TV, and I think he's just marvelous. And yes, I'll go down and do that. So all of us signed up to hand out campaign information and do phone calls and put up yard signs. And this went on for about 30 days before I met Bill Clinton. After I'd been working in his campaign, I got a call from the state office and they said, Mr. Clinton's going to be in the area and he'd like to tour some businesses. Can he come by your nursing home? And I was so excited. I thought, that's just great. Yes, we would love to have Mr. Clinton come by.
Right.
So that's how I met him, is when he came by on a tour of my nursing home.
Right, right. Now, I mean, that would be exciting, right? I mean,
oh, yes.
You want to be involved in something that's bigger than yourself, where you can make an impact. But then you end up in a situation where you're brutalized.
I know, and the way that he manipulated the whole situation is what's horrific. You know, no one back then in '78 knew about him and his character. It was not evident at that time. When he came to my nursing home, we took a photo, and that's what you see on the front of my book.
Right. And your book, just to stop you right there before we go into really what we really want to get into, your book is called "You'd Better Put Some Ice on That: How I Survived Being Raped by Bill Clinton." You're a fighter.
Right. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been a hard go. I mean, it really has. But the last 2 years, 3 years really, I've been speaking out, and it gets better every time. And so anybody who's out there and can talk about it and talk about it with somebody they trust, that's important, that you can actually verbalize what happened to you. But anyway, after this photo op, Bill Clinton comes over to me, and he's so charismatic, Erin. He's one of these people that has, he never loses eye contact. And when he's speaking with you, you feel like you're the only person in that room, and that everything you say is important to him. So I took this opportunity to tell him about how my nursing home was struggling, how all nursing homes in Arkansas were struggling due to the reimbursement rate. And he sort of stopped me right there, and he said, "Are you ever in Little Rock?" And I said, "Yes." He says, he said, "I'd like to talk to you at length about this." And I was very excited. I said, "Yes, I'll be there in about 3 weeks. I'm bringing my nurse down with me, and we're going to a nursing home seminar." And he said, "Well, when you get in town, give me a call at my office, and let's try to set up a time to talk." So I was so excited. I worked on papers for 2 nights in a row, showing him the pay scale for what we were reimbursed versus what it actually cost us. And so I was excited to share this information with him. So on the night of April the 24th, 1978, my nurse and I drove to Little Rock when we got off work. And the next morning, we called Bill Clinton's campaign office. And a young lady answered and gave me another number to call. And so I call that number. He answers the phone, and I tell him who it is, and that I'd like to come and see him on my lunch break at his office, because that was the only time I had free from the meeting. And he said, "You know, I'm not going to be there today." He said, "How about I just come to your hotel right now, and we'll meet down in the Camelot Coffee Shop." That's what the hotel was called back then. And so I was thrilled. So I turned to Norma, and anyway, he said, "I'll call you when I get there so you can come on down." So I turned to Norma. Norma Rogers was the lady that was traveling with me. And I tell her, "You go on to the meeting. I'm going to meet him in the coffee shop. And when I get through there, I'll come on to the meeting." Well, so I'm waiting in the room. Norma leaves. And in a little while, probably 20 minutes or so, my phone rings. And it's Bill Clinton. And he says, "You know, it's just so crowded down here, and there's reporters." He said, "Can we have coffee and talk about this in your room?" And Erin, I'm sure I was a little bit leery of the situation. I'd never been alone in a hotel room with a man I didn't know, but we're talking about the Attorney General of my state. So I agreed, ordered coffee to the room, and he says, "I'll be up shortly." And so as soon as the coffee is delivered and that person leaves, I hear a knock on my door. And I always wondered if he waited out in the hallway somewhere until the people with the coffee left, but that's neither here nor there. So I go to the door, open the door. There stands Bill Clinton in dark sunglasses in the hallway. And I can remember that being strange, wondering why he was wearing his sunglasses in the hallway inside the building. And so I usher him on in, bring him over to the table where I have my files and the coffee. And I start to pour the coffee, but then he says, come here a minute, I want to show you this. He's around on one side of the table by the window and by the bed, and I'm around on the other side. So I walk around to where he is. Big mistake. I should never have gone around there. But anyway, he says he starts to point at a little building down below. And as he points, he puts his arm around me to point. Very large man. He towered over me.
Yeah, you can see that in the pictures online. Yes.
Yeah, he's a very large man. And I'm about 5'4", and at that time weighed about 110 pounds, and he's very large. But anyway, it sort of frightened me when he did that. So I start to back away from him and go around to the other side of the table. And as I do, he grabs me. And I just sort of push him back and say, no, this is not going to happen. And so as I try to walk around to the other side of the table, he grabs me again, starts kissing me, and that's when I start to get very loud and yell. And that's when he pushes me back onto the bed. And every time I screamed during the attack, he would bite on my upper lip. I mean, bite hard on my upper lip. It was the most frightening thing that, I mean, as I think back about it now, it's horrible. I can't hardly even get a breath thinking about it because he was so large. He was on top of me, biting on my lip, tearing at my clothing. And it was like, he was like an animal. You know, it was unbelievable.
Well, you know, what you went through, it's shocking at the time. I am also a rape survivor, a violent rape survivor. And these are things people don't talk about. In many cases, you don't expect it. It catches you out of the blue that you wouldn't expect it from the person. And your reactions are, you know, unless you're trained or have self-defense mechanisms, you are in shock. And you know, you wouldn't expect that from a person of his stature, you know. And so what you're saying to us right now, for the listeners who aren't familiar with Juanita Broaddrick, she was brutally raped by Bill Clinton in 1978. It came out in 1999 and has had an uphill battle since. And especially watching the Kavanaugh hearings, she had to speak out. She's very brave on expressing her voice, but she's just telling us right now what she's been through in terms of her experience with Bill Clinton. Now, after this happened to you, and you're shocked, right? I mean, this has happened.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sitting up on the side of the bed. I'm crying. My lip hurts and everything else in my body hurts.
Right.
And he just calmly gets up, starts to straighten himself, and sort of pauses and stands at the foot of the bed and looks at me very bewildered, very frustrated, like he can't understand why I'm crying. I mean, I've just been raped. And he's looking at me like I have no reason to be as hysterical as I am. And he looks at me, Erin, and he says, don't worry, I'm sterile. I had mumps when I was a boy. And that just sort of flew right over me, but I did remember it because it was just so cold, and I cry even that much more. And then he calmly puts on his sunglasses and walks to the door and motions to my lip and says, you better put some ice on that, and walks out the door. I rush to that door and lock it, and come
Right.
back to the bed and lay down. And my thoughts at that moment was, somebody's going to come in to get rid of the body. I mean, I felt like a body.
You felt dead. You felt like, I mean, I just, I sympathize with you. I just, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it was
really, it's
horrible.
really, really difficult to wrap your head around why somebody's first concern after they brutalize you would be to say that they're sterile.
I know. I know. Isn't that the most weird thing? And then I just go back to the bed, lay down. I mean, I'm in another world. I'm in la la land, you might as well say, because I cannot believe what's happened. And I'm just laying there on the bed, and about 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, I hear a knock on the door, and it frightens me. So I walk over to the door, and I look through the little peephole. Well, it's Norma. I never showed up for the meeting. And I open that door, and I absolutely just start bellowing all over again. She comes in, and we both sit down on the end of the bed, and I tell her everything that happened. I mean, she thought I would be coming on to the meeting. I'm sitting there in torn clothing, torn pantyhose, and I mean, I look like the grapes of wrath. And she immediately gets ice from my mouth, and I can remember us sitting there saying, and her asking me, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, just take me home. And that's what we did.
Wow. Well, you know, for those people out there who are listening to Juanita Broaddrick right now, maybe you can't relate, or maybe you are a survivor. To be in that spot, Juanita, where you just want to go home, you just want to be safe, you just want to
Yes.
be rid
Yes,
of
exactly.
everything that just happened. Now,
Yeah.
what did your girlfriend do? She just took care of you. She just took you home and
Oh, yeah. She was not only my director of nursing. We were both registered nurses, and but she absolutely helped me change clothes, packed all of our stuff up, and drove me home in my own car. I mean, I was devastated, and she stopped 2 or 3 times to get fresh ice from my mouth, because it's about a 3-hour drive from Little Rock to my home. And
right.
on the way, we both knew there was nothing I could do. He was the attorney general. People say, why didn't you notify the police? He was the police.
Right.
There
In
was,
Little Rock, I mean, when people, you know, I know people who've known the Clintons. And when you think of the Clintons and you think of Little Rock, especially way back when, they ruled, I mean, they ruled the roost in Arkansas, so to speak. Uh,
oh, yes.
you know, nothing came or went without them being apprised of what was going on. I mean, how did that make you feel that you couldn't do anything about it, Juanita?
Oh, Erin, it was, I mean, this man, as Attorney General, regulated my nursing home. I had gone to him for help, and now he had the power to have a survey, have me shut down. He was a threat to my livelihood, and also me as a person. I mean, he was this huge threat to me. And also, and so many people can probably uh, identify with this, I blame myself. I blame myself for not realizing why that man was coming to my room. I had no way to understand why he was coming to my room. But you're talking about the 70s. In the 70s, people would say, oh, men will be men, boys will be boys, just deal with it. And that's what I had to do. You know, if a woman let a man come to her room back in those days, it was her fault. No getting around it. It was the woman's fault.
But you felt, I mean, what you explained to us just earlier was that you felt like, okay, he's under pressure, there's media down there, he's the attorney general, you know, we'll just go ahead and have this quick meeting at the room, that's fine. I mean, you were a little concerned, especially by, you know, before he he made the advance, you were a bit concerned at the energy when you saw his glasses, in the hallway. But there really,
Right.
I mean, people need to remember, when you're not a rapist, when you're not a predator, you don't think like a predator. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't. You don't think like a predator. And I think parents need to think about this when they raise up their children, to instruct them in the ways that they should go, have them educated, learn self-defense, learn to recognize about their surroundings, what situations to put themselves into or not to put themselves into. But there's a lot more awareness today, okay? Even now with the youngsters, there's a lot more awareness now today than there was back then in 1978.
Oh, yeah. I did not even know anyone close to me that had been raped.
Right.
I had or sexually assaulted in any manner.
You wouldn't talk about that. You wouldn't talk about that in those days. You certainly, there are a lot of things you didn't talk about in those days.
Right.
I want to go fast forward, because in 1999, what brought you to the place where you decided to address this horrific crime?
Oh, I never would have addressed it. I had kept it quiet. And people say, well, how did you become so successful if this huge cloud was over you? I think that it made me successful in spite of it. I worked myself to death. I was going to get no help from Bill Clinton or the government, and I worked myself to death and made my business successful, and also started another nursing home. And I had no desire to come forward,
right.
But I was outed by the Paula Jones suit, where they named me Jane Doe number 5.
Right. And that's an interesting thing right there. And I know I kind of led you into describing that to us in a sense, but you wanted to move on with your life. You had no reason to bring it up. You had created a world for yourself, a life for yourself. You were a survivor. You're a fighter. Now here you're presented with the space that you are brought out to speak.
Oh,
what
I know.
Did that
and
feel
it was
like when they came to you? I mean, when the situation came up in 1999, where your world changed again, right?
Right. Well, I was betrayed. I had 2 investigators for the Paula Jones suit show up on my front porch one day. And I went out onto the porch to talk to them. And it's interesting to note who they were. Their name was Rick and Beverly Lambert. They had a small investigative firm locally, not local here, but they had an investigative firm. They are the parents of Miranda Lambert, the country music star. But anyway, they came to my home, and I went out on the porch and talked to them. And they were recording me, and I never knew that until later. But they kept asking me, we understand that you went through a bad situation. And I said, yes, but I'm not coming forward. You're not going to get me to testify in her case. And I made it very clear to them that this is something I did not want to do. Well, they went and took that recording back to the lawyers. The lawyers sent that to the Ken Starr people later and said, we believe this woman's been bought off. That's how Ken Starr entered into it. But anyway, I was deposed by the Paula Jones suit versus Bill Clinton. And I was angry. I was so angry. And I went to that deposition and I told them nothing had happened. I was not raped by Bill Clinton. And I was just angry. I wasn't going to become a part of this big suit that they had for their own good. This would do me no good. I saw what was happening to the women who came forward against Clinton, and I'll be darned if I was going to be one of them. So I left that deposition and saying that nothing had happened, and I thought, well, that's the end of that. But then here comes Ken Starr. And when I find out that I'm going to be deposed by Ken Starr, my son, who's an attorney, comes to me And I remember sitting here in the kitchen where I'm sitting right now with him, and him saying, "Mom, it's time. You have to come forward. You have to tell the truth." He said Paula Jones' suit was a civil suit. He said, "This is federal and it's serious." So that's why I came forward with the investigators and the FBI and the Judiciary Committee for the hearing. That's why I finally came forward.
You know, there are victims out there who are survivors, and they may never speak about what happened to them or go to authorities. And those people who end up like you, put in a position where you need to talk about it, you know. And I can imagine being in front of people, maybe not at the level you were. I was on the stand and I put a man behind bars as a child. And it was hard. It was scary.
Oh, my.
And I was a child. I was a child, and it was scary. I was scared for my life. But to go up against and be an adult and to understand the magnitude, the person that you're speaking about and coming out about in terms of what happened to you, you're talking about a very powerful figure. Very powerful figure. And you felt afraid in that hotel room. That was a very frightening part of your life. But how did you feel having to testify under oath, that vulnerability? How did you feel? Because that had to be scary.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, it was. And, so many people say, well, Ken Starr discredited her. That's the farthest thing from the truth. They were so kind and so nice to me and very extremely sympathetic. I was not involved in the hearing, the impeachment hearing, because I had no evidence of obstruction of justice. I hadn't been bought off. I had stayed quiet of my own accord. What they wanted to know is why I had lied in the Paula Jones suit. And but I had nothing to offer for their charges of obstruction of justice. So that's why I was not included. But during this time, Chuck Schumer, Dianne Feinstein, Dick Durbin, and all of the Democrats, even after Henry Hyde had impressed upon them that he had credible evidence that the president was a rapist, they refused to read my deposition with the independent counsel.
Wow.
That's why I was so irate that here they were pushing Dr. Ford out there for the public view with no proof whatsoever and refused to read my record that had all the proof in the world.
And that's it right there. That is exactly it right there, Juanita. I mean, what we saw, and I want to read something that you said, and I pulled this off the internet, and so you can correct the record if it's not true. But this is important. You slammed, and this is off the internet, you slammed the Democrats for, quote, biggest double standard on Kavanaugh. And then you also told Fox News' Ellison Barber that there was, quote, no comparison, end quote, between your case and Ford's. Quote, because Dr. Ford has no evidence. I had the who, what, when, where, and how, and had 5 people that I told, not even counting the woman who found me 30 minutes after the rape with swollen, busted lip, torn clothes, and in a state of shock. I mean, and you called out the bigwigs as well. I mean, this is something else. Because Ford got in there on an accusation that, and she wasn't raped.
No, there's no comparison. And I had hoped, I was at the hearing, but not inside the building. I was outside with all of those women running around with "We Believe Survivor" signs. And I asked several of them if they believe.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh, yes. I could not believe it. I said, "Do you believe me?" And they did not know who I was. And when I told them, they would walk away. They wanted nothing to do with me.
The Me Too movement is very selfish, and the people who are part of that, survivor whole hashtag movement, all of it. They're self-serving,
Right.
they're agenda-based. It has nothing to do with real people, real problems, real victimization, and real survivors. Nothing.
That's right. That's exactly right, Erin.
So when you were outside and you knew she was in there, you knew Ford was in there accusing Kavanaugh, and I can just imagine how you felt, but please tell us how that was for you, because it's just I'm speechless thinking about it. What did that feel like?
Oh, it was sort of empowering, because I would tell people who I probably was interviewed 20 times
Right.
outside the building by different media and different people, and I would tell them that if Schumer and Feinstein and Durbin can bring up such flimsy allegations against a wonderful man, I think they need to come outside and personally apologize to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. People are really distorted and don't have a real clear view of the magnitude of what happened. And you are brave. You took the
Thank you.
opportunity, Juanita, to take this situation, this bastardization of our entire process, and the insulting and the degradation and trying to smear a man who is of high moral character. You took your situation, what happened with Bill Clinton, all of your experiences, and you used it for good. You used it for good.
Thank you.
You used it to help bring awareness. You used it to assist people in understanding the magnitude of what is happening with our government. Because like you said, these same individuals are lifting people up like Ford, smashing down people like Kavanaugh, when they discarded your very credible and important testimony.
Oh, that's right. And that's when I tweeted, and it went viral instantly. When Dr. Ford first said she was trying to make up her mind to even appear at the hearing, I tweeted, if Christine Ford is unavailable, I would be happy to take her place and come and tell the committee what Bill Clinton did to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I saw that tweet and I thought, yes, I did. I thought, yes, because so many people would just sit back and not say much of anything. But you are using this as an opportunity for awareness, to also expose the players who are there. Because right now we're amongst people in the government who, and especially in media too as well, who are not here to help us as a nation, or even to help victims or people who are hurting. They are literally using these people as pawns. And so you're brave. You put yourself out there when you came forward, or you had to come forward, forced to come forward, so to speak. Now you're coming forward again. You say it's empowering. What are you going to do next? Are you going to write another book? Are you just going to continue forward with your life? Are you going to continue to be an advocate for survivors and free speech? What are you going to do now? What's next for Juanita Broaddrick?
Well, right now, I have some people who produced the movie Democrats. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. The Democrats movie. Well, they're wanting to do a documentary on me. And I don't know when we'll start filming, but it will be something that will be shown in theaters where Bill and Hillary Clinton are speaking on their tour, on their speaking tour, on the nights in the cities where they're speaking.
Wow.
Now, it may not start until after the first of the year, but that's what I hope to do. And also I have a petition for a White House petition to get Bill Clinton's sex crimes investigated. There's nothing I can do because of the statute of limitation, and I can't sue him civilly. My money would last one day compared to his. There's no way I can go up against him like that. But if I can get the FBI to investigate Bill Clinton's sex crimes against so many women, not only myself, but so many others, then possibly we can get his former president perks stripped. He receives millions of dollars every year from our tax dollar that goes for him, and that's not right. All of these tax money going to a rapist.
Well, yes, I agree with that. The truth needs to be brought out. I mean, there's so many stories and allegations or alleged stories that people, I mean, you're not the only person who's come forward with issues with Bill Clinton. But he's a very strong candidate for having to face the truth. He is, Juanita. And the reason why is one of them is because of what happened with Monica Lewinsky.
Right.
And there's some things you just can't refute, like DNA. And my hope would be that the truth comes out and that he would pay for his crimes. Now, I've been told, and I say this often, Juanita, it's very interesting, and don't get this wrong, folks, I'm not threatening Bill Clinton, okay? I'm not threatening Bill Clinton. But true justice comes after the grave. We will all have to stand before our Maker. And one day, that man will pay for his crimes.
Oh, yes, he will.
Against every other woman or person, shall I say, that he's victimized. Now, we've talked about Bill. We've talked about your situation with Kavanaugh hearings and Ford and some of the things that you had mentioned that you spoke about there. Where do you stand on Hillary Clinton? Because she's somewhere in all of this, right? I mean...
Well, people ask me that. They say, who do you think is the most evil? And, you know, I had to think about that a long time. But I have to put it with her. Because if she had come out back when he first started...
Uh-oh. I'm not sure I can hear you, Juanita. Give me just a minute. Juanita, are you there? Let's go ahead and try to call Juanita back. We got caught off. We got cut off somehow. We're going to go ahead and try to call Juanita back. Somehow we got cut off right when she was speaking about Hillary Clinton.
Hello?
Well, we got cut off right when we brought up Miss Hillary Clinton.
I'm sorry, I didn't do anything.
I'm like, wow, oh, wow. So I'm not sure if individuals can see this. As a matter of fact, right now, Juanita, I tried tweeting 3 or 4 times this broadcast, and it won't even let me tweet it out.
Oh my gosh.
But nonetheless, we have it recording. We'll get this information out there. But let's get back to Hillary Clinton. No distractions here, okay? No distractions. Hillary Clinton, you said you believed her to be more evil, more of a threat, more evil than Bill Clinton. Why?
Right, I do. I think she could have controlled the situation. If she had only done something way back in the 70s and 80s, you have to think about all of the women that might have been saved from his predatory nature.
Right.
I mean, it's terrible how she would not ever deal with this.
Or maybe she did. Maybe she knew. You know, we don't know. We don't know for sure, do we? So, I mean, to speculate is not worth it. But I think that you're correct. She should have done something. She should have taken action. And when I see her speak out about the Me Too movement, when I see her speak out about this Kavanaugh hearing situation with Ford. It makes my skin crawl. It's repulsive to me that she could.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, Erin, I would never have come back out after I did the NBC Dateline interview
Right.
in '99. After all of the impeachment was going on and everything. After I did that, I was attacked so severely by the media that I just went back into the woodwork, put my head down, went back to work, and tried to forget about what I'd been through. And then in 2015, Hillary tweets,
right,
all victims of sexual abuse should come forward and be believed, and we're with you. I went ballistic. I thought, oh no, woman, that cannot come out of your mouth.
wow.
Not after what you did to all of us. No way.
Right.
So that's when I got my grandson, he was 13 at the time, to teach me how to use Twitter. And I mean, I went on Twitter not even knowing the power of Twitter. One morning, after he had taught me how to tweet, I went on Twitter and I tweeted, in January the 6th, 2016, I was raped when I was 35 years old, when I was raped by Bill Clinton, the Arkansas Attorney General, and I was threatened by Hillary. I said, I'm now 73 and it never goes away. And I thought, well, that looks good. I'll tweet that. And I punched tweet, and my God, all hell broke loose. My phone started ringing off the wall, and from reporters, I hadn't said anything that I hadn't said in the NBC Dateline interview. I hadn't said anything, but it was instant and it went viral. And the third phone call was from my son, who's an attorney.
Right.
And he said, Mom, what did you do? And I said, I have no idea. And I didn't, but that enabled me to have a voice through Twitter. This sounds like a Twitter commercial, but here I sit in my home and I can speak and I can relate to people and I can tell them what the Clintons did to me.
Right. You can share your story and your message without people having to get your book, and weigh in on the issues. I think it's important to recognize that there are more people out there like you. The Me Too movement catered to people who were agenda specific. It really did. And more often than not, it really wasn't to help people. Okay? I think it was completely manipulated. You're out there, you're able to speak up about the truth, about what you experienced with Bill Clinton, with that whole ordeal. It wasn't just the rape, it was everything after that too. I mean, to watch these people lie, to watch these people come out against accusers or against this person or that person and hold, we'll just talk about conservatives like Kavanaugh, good, strong, standing men, up to the wall and basically consider him a rapist when he hasn't been found guilty by a jury or by Congress. I mean, but then to lift this woman up who there's no substantiated facts to support her story, it's got to be infuriating. So to have that voice must be also empowering through Twitter. So what is the reaction from people on Twitter? I got a few reactions when I said that I was going to be hosting you on the show. Some were good. Most were good. But a few people spoke negatively about you. And I thought, these are probably the same people who lauded Ford. I mean,
oh, yeah,
exactly. How can they do such a thing?
Well, it's 99% positive.
Right.
I have a few that will come forward, but you have to realize that some of them don't have the guts to contact me personally. Some do, right. And some I actually converse with and try to explain to them, which you can't explain to them. They have their minds made up that the Clintons are king and queen of our nation and always will be, and there's nothing you can say to them. But I would say 99% of my messages are very positive and very supportive.
That's good. And one thing that I do see is that you are being interviewed and you are getting the message out there, and you're being an advocate, okay, for other women who either have waited years and they haven't said anything, but you're spreading that message of we're strong, we're powerful. I mean, people have been killed for less by the Clintons. You know that, right? I mean, or shall I say,
oh, exactly.
the
Yeah.
Clinton death list. We don't know that it's happened because it hasn't been proven in a court of law. But you know, there's the list out there, and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
got to be frightening. So for women who are out there, you know, women who are listening, men even, because there are boys and other individuals who've been victimized too. You're not alone. Juanita's here on the phone. Now, I want you to give them a message, Juanita. What is, and I have a question for you. What is your recommendation to those who are out there who've been assaulted, who've experienced violence, and who are raped? What is your recommendation?
I think you would probably agree with this, Erin. If it's something that they can go home, or even if they're at their home, try to remember every detail that you can possibly remember. And to me, the most important thing is to tell someone. Tell someone that you can trust. If you don't feel like you can go to the police, like I couldn't, then tell somebody and be very specific about everything that happened to you and lean on that person for support.
Right, right. You know, we're coming down to the last few minutes of the interview here, and I think more people need to recognize the bravery that you've had, the courage it's taken for you to be the woman you are, to make a life for yourself, and allow you the opportunity to share your story. And when I see a woman like you stand up, speak out, it encourages me. It encourages me that humanity has not lost heart, that we have a vision for the future, no matter what the circumstances we've been through. We are survivors. We are fighters. We are warriors, especially women like you and I. And I want to encourage you, Juanita, to keep speaking out and sharing your message, because one day these people will pay for their crimes. One day.
Yes, I agree.
And I know that there are a lot of people out there who will stand alongside you and fight. I ran for U.S. Senate against Dianne Feinstein here in 2018 for the primary. I didn't win. But people asked me if I was afraid for my life. Absolutely I was. These are powerful people. You're standing against corruption. You're standing against the odds. And people like Feinstein, people like the Clintons, they think they're untouchable. They do. They're not. They're just people, and they should be held to a high standard, especially given their positions. We'll stand by you, Juanita. Just keep speaking out and keep being brave.
Oh, thank you, Erin, and thank goodness a lot of the liberal media is beginning to support me, so I'm pleased with that.
Because
the liberal slate.
It's about humanity.
Yeah.
It's about what's true and what's right.
And if somebody wants to, and they're questioning my situation, go to the liberal not publication, but the liberal slate. They did a whole episode on me called Slow Burn, episode number 8, which gives my whole complete story. And like I said, it's done by a liberal group, so it's very, very, very good.
Well, that's wonderful. And also, too, folks, Juanita Broaddrick here on the line. She was brutally raped by Bill Clinton. She's written a book. It's called You'd Better Put Some Ice on That, How I Survived Being Raped by Bill Clinton. Where can they buy that book, Juanita?
They can go to my website, and it's JuanitaBroaddrick.com.
Okay, and folks, the screen says the spelling of her name, so you can make sure that, that you spell it right and get the right Juanita Broaddrick and buy the right book, buy the correct book, and read more about her her survival and her woman warriorhood. Oh, well,
Oh,
thank
thank
you
you.
again for being on the Erin Cruz show. We're here for you anytime. And I think that just stay the course, Juanita. Stay the course.
Oh, I intend to. It's going to be hard for me to go away. I'm just getting up steam.
Well, you're just getting on fire. Well, we're right there by you. All right. God bless you. You take care.
Thanks, Erin. Nice talking with you.
All right.